Good morning. I'd like to call the March 3rd, 2020 bid board meeting to order. We have acknowledgement of a quorum, and I'd look for motion to approve the minutes from February 4th.
Motion. So moved.
Beat me.
Second.
Wow. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Cut this up this morning.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. First item is financial report.
Good morning. Okay, so in your financial report, you'll see the revised budget of $106,083. Actual to date is $7,240.31. Total encumbrances right now are $8,750 and available of $90,092.69. I'll make a note that your undesignated fund balance still needs to be carried over from 2019, and as they close the books on that, it doesn't show up in our report and can't show up in our report until it gets moved. That's why it looks like that. Nobody took your money.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any conversation, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I've been asked to put Roots and Branches on a little early because Jay needs to leave and he wanted to be here for that presentation. So if we can do the Roots and Branches a little early, that would be great. Oh, I should turn my microphone on. Sorry about that. Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Thank you for including me on the agenda. All of a sudden, it's spring, right?
Some people are happy about that.
Well, we're happy. Anyway, here we are again, and I wanted to mention before we take a look at, did you all get this that I had Adam send out? Okay. Before I get into that, I just wanted to mention to you that this is Roots and Branches' 30th anniversary year, which is pretty exciting to have that kind of longevity. And we've been doing the Adopt-A-Pot gardens around town and downtown for almost that long. And what I wanted to say to all of you is that it wasn't until a couple of years ago when we began partnering with the bid and with the city, and Jay is responsible for the city getting involved in the bid to do the funding, that I think we finally made some real inroads downtown. There's always a ways to go. Last year we improved the property, the garden in front of Tenney's. The year before, we improved the garden in the north end of town, just next to the Rotary there, next to 33, and that's been moving along. And this year, we'd like to make some improvements with the small island garden in front of the theater, where it's been run into a few times, and the shrubs are really old and they need to be replaced, and so there'll be some improvement there. And we were kind of waiting to see what was going to happen there, but apparently with the adjustment that they made, that will remain. So that will be one of our areas of focus this year. In fact, you'll notice on the front of this, we always like to put some kind of a picture of the activity of last year's cleanup and planting day. And this is the one in front of Tenney's where so much improvement has been made. And across from that, in front of the Consider the Lilies, has also been a great improvement downtown. So we're happy about all of that and delighted that we're all partners in doing this, and you have really made a difference for this to happen. And looking at the budget itself, and we like to, I know that you assume that we're going to be working with you and you put some money in the budget and so forth, but I think it's good that I come to this meeting and at least give you some sense of what we're looking at money-wise, if there would be any big changes or not any changes at all, and there are only some slight changes really to what we've been doing in the past. But I think we can finally, if you look at that, it looks like $9,425, and that includes a potential $3,000 for watering, which is what it cost one year when we had to have watering done outside of volunteers. And the last 3 years now, we've been having volunteers do the watering downtown. And so I think we can probably take that off in the future. So we're really looking at $6,425, but it does show you that the part that Roots and Branches plays is to provide a lot of the volunteers that do make a lot of this possible downtown. And so it's good to have it in there, but I think we'll leave it out in the future. Anyway, there aren't any real surprises except that we will be redoing that island, and we now have 17 baskets. We put 4 new ones in last year, and one of the things that we added this year after this budget was approved and everything was to put some evergreens during the holidays in the baskets with red bows. So that was an additional idea that actually Julie had. And so that was added later, but we have included that in this budget this year. So I don't know if you have any questions? Yes.
Would it be possible to look into maybe getting a little better quality mulch down there? I know that Tony, does a nice job on his end, and Chris and I try to take care of our end, and we use that dark colored mulch, and it looks pretty nice. And I know we get it free from the city, which can't hardly beat the price, but as the summer wears on, it looks a little bleak in those beds.
Yeah. Yes, we have discussed that, and thank you for bringing that up, because Tony, thank you for assuming that other side of the street there. They now are beginning to look alike,
Right.
and gotten cleaned up, and they do have that nice mulch on both sides, so the entrance in that area is really a lot nicer. I think some gardens would not make a lot of difference, except where it really shows. Some gardens are so full you can't see the mulch, very honestly. But other people have asked about that too. And I guess what we could do, and if you want to, you could put some extra money in, because the city cannot provide that. They do provide the mulch free that we do have, that we do use. But if we could put some extra money in there, I don't know what that would cost. I'm sure it's not cheap to get a better quality mulch.
I recall for me, it's about 27-ish per yard, doing the Veterans Park and a little bit of the Riverwalk behind me. With those 2 beds, it's probably a couple thousand. So I think if we try to get the whole downtown, as much as that looks nice, it would be pretty significant investment.
Well, we did the circle in our end, and I think it was, 10 yards or.
Oh, I've got way more than that. So when you think about all those beds, it's hard to beat free.
I wouldn't mind walking with you or with somebody from Roots and Branches and just kind of eyeball it and speculate how much it would be, yardage,
Okay.
and then we could just look into it.
Yeah, and as I said, there are some gardens that are so full that you really can't even see the mulch.
Right, yeah.
And I know that North Burham, where you are, is very obvious that the mulch isn't very nice there. Well, we are going. I don't know what the date is going to be, but we'll be taking a walk downtown, walk through kind of, to determine what areas. I know one of the areas that we've talked about, and I hope we can do something this year, is that corner where Muggles is. I'm not sure who's on the corner. We have to look and see what property owner that is, but to clean up that corner there that. We talked about it last year, but maybe that's one we can do. But those are the kinds of things that we uncover when we're doing that walkthrough. Can we just let you know when we're doing that, and maybe you can join us?
Sure, that'd be great, thank you.
Okay, or I can go another time too if that doesn't work conveniently for you.
Let me know, and I'll be more than happy to join you if I'm available, or Chris could.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we'll be setting that date.
First off, I'd like to say thank you. You guys do a great job down there, and the volunteers are amazing. And it's been a great partnership, so thank you very much for everything that your group does to make it look great. And I think we need to also, not too distant future, start looking at the Riverwalk. Obviously, the west side's not done, but once that's done, we need to start thinking about that and maybe even being a little proactive and look at what they're proposing for the west side and see if there's things that, you know, you guys identify as being good, bad, and different for future for that as well.
Right. Well, and we, Roots and Branches hasn't been involved in the Riverwalk to any of the planning or anything, and I think the idea there, and I don't want to speak for the Park and Rec Department, but it was to keep it a little bit low maintenance, so we didn't have a lot of need for flowers and such, but it certainly is something we are open to looking at with everybody else.
I don't want a lot of maintenance either, but I'm looking maybe like some of those baskets, that kind of stuff. that,
Oh, sure,
You know,
sure.
maybe something like that could be done, you know, along there. And if we're looking ahead of time, even if there's a concrete pad that should be put in to do that, that could be done at this point in construction as opposed to 3 years from now.
Okay, and we're happy to look into that with you. And just mentioning the baskets, in the past, and I don't know how many years ago this was exactly, but we had some hanging baskets downtown, and those are kind of preferable in a way, but they require a truck to come and do the watering, so they're much more expensive. So I don't know how this started, we just got into it as a result of downtown making some changes, and we took over the baskets, but they sit up about 4.5 feet or higher, I guess, when you add the flowers and everything. But they're kind of an alternative to a hanging basket that is doable for volunteers to water.
I would say stay with those if you can.
Okay, well, thank you all again.
So does anybody have any questions on the,
I have a comment.
Yep.
I do want to thank Jay and the city for the cleanup day that we started on probably 3 years ago now. And the first year, I remember, took a good solid half a day because it was overgrown. And each year, it's progressively gotten quicker. And that, to me, makes an incredible difference as far as getting spring started and getting that cleanup. So to have that kind of turnout, I'd love to see more business owners and building owners show up, but kudos to the city for all the effort they put in and the equipment that you provide, so I appreciate that.
Yes, I agree. Thank you, Jay. The other thing that has happened, I guess I should mention, and Julie was initially responsible for this as well, is that we have gotten more and more businesses and property owners involved. You know, we've had volunteers working in front of their stores and businesses and so forth in the past, but with some of this effort of the partnership that we have had with the city and with the bid, they have been contacted, and a lot of times personally by Julie, and many of them have been very willing, and so we've been pulling in more of those people every year too, to kind of take care of their own properties, which is a good thing.
It
So I
keeps
just wanted
growing.
to-
Everybody keeps picking up their own piece of the pie, and that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
On that note, Barton is joining this year too on the spring cleanup. We'll be
Fantastic.
down along the Eisenbahn, along the river, along the bridge there, and joining with that. So we actually we planned an event for a particular day, and it just so we looked at the calendar and it was the spring cleanup. So it'll be
Yeah, it's good.
yeah.
We'll
Sure.
have a big cleanup day in town.
Looks like it's May 18th. I just want to get that in my calendar. So.
May 18th for the downtown cleanup. Our cleanup day, and I think yours is May 2nd.
May 2nd, yeah.
So we're going to be putting it together with Jess in marketing and try to pull in a lot of neighborhoods and businesses and people around the community. We have only just gone and cleaned up parks and green spaces in the spring, but we're trying to pull in more people. So bringing Barton in is a great thing, and that's May 2nd. And
Yeah.
May 18th is the cleanup day downtown.
Okay.
But we've also talked, Justice and I have talked about doing something in Barton as well. We used to have a wonderful garden there up on Commerce and I'm not sure the other street. And a bunch of volunteers, and it was a beautiful garden, but sometimes people get older and they can't do the gardening anymore, and it kind of went by the wayside. We had no one that picked up that volunteer.
We've got a master
responsibility.
gardener that we're going to start working with this spring to get that put back together again.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, if you need our help, please. let's
Yeah,
call-
and I will be calling on you for sure.
Yeah,
I don't know
let's-
how appropriate this is to talk about right now, but yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll be
let's
calling
talk
on you for
again.
sure.
Okay.
Okay, any
Thank you.
other questions on the dollars? You know, knowing that we haven't spent the 3,000 on watering, and hopefully we won't have to spend the 3,000, I think we're pretty much what we've done every year. I don't think it's really an increase that I see. So I'd entertain a motion to,
So I'll make a motion to approve up to 9,425 with hopes of 6,425 for roots and branches.
Second?
we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we can go back to the dogs now. Adam, you want to give us an update?
Who let them
Great.
out?
Actually, Mike Yench, Parks Rec and Forestry Director, will come up and let us know. Mike put together the map that has the potential locations for the way stations. And one quick update I'll give is that the great thing about dog owners is they're crazy about their dogs, and there's models out there that exist where you can sponsor things like these way stations and say in loving memory of Scruffy or whoever it is. And so we're looking into that model instead of having to expend too many dollars.
Good morning.
Good morning. Okay, the map that you see before you, really after the last bid board meeting, I spent about 10 minutes just kind of putting some ideas on an overlay like this. What we looked at was kind of focal areas. Obviously, I'll start on Veterans Avenue. How are people going to funnel across the river? The bridges. So high-use areas like the bridges, you want to park on the Veterans Avenue side, go to Farmers Market, things like that. You just drove to Veterans Avenue, you get out, you're going to let your dog out. First thing your dog might want to do is go to the restroom. Obviously, most dog owners carry their own bags. These doggy bag stations will basically be backup locations for dog owners. They run out of bags, they forget their bags in their vehicle, something like that. As you get across the river to the west side, again, we looked at high-use areas, the north end of Old Settlers Park, pretty much right where the stop sign is there, somewhere right there in that landscape bed. Vest Pocket Park, again, probably between the Ziegler Building and a walk, and then on the far south end in Veterans Park. Each of these locations are near trash receptacles, maybe not right next to them, but pretty close to them. Again, they're high-use areas, high visible areas. If I'm on a Riverwalk on Veterans Avenue, I can look down and see one of these. Again, we're looking at the black models to kind of match the other amenities in the downtown, the benches and trash receptacles, things like that. The red dots on the map are, again, just suggested areas for when the west side of the river is done. Again, we're looking at high-use areas where we're going to have a lot of foot traffic, things like that. Or, again, where people might arrive in their vehicle, get out with their dog, and again, the first thing their dog wants to do is use the restroom because they're excited. They get out of the vehicle, they're going to go to the bathroom. So, again, these are just suggested areas, and we thought maybe a good starting point for the downtown. So,
Do we have a cost estimate?
Well, that's kind of what I was talking about earlier is the cost estimate. I'm trying to get it down to zero, just because people will fund these things by putting their dog's name on it, mostly dogs that passed away, not to bring it too down. But also the ones earlier that I showed that you guys liked, they were somewhere around $60 to $70 a piece, if I remember correctly.
What does a campaign like that look like? Trying to find the people to, where do you
Yeah, I don't-
advertise that?
I don't know. I guess we could just put it out on Facebook, or we all know people to get it in front of as well, and I don't think that'll be too difficult to come up with 8 people. But it's a matter of what it's going to cost and what those things can fund.
Okay. So you want to do an update at the next meeting?
Yeah,
What you're thinking?
we'll hopefully have a decision at the next one then, or give you guys the ability for a decision at the next one
Okay.
for blessing.
Okay, thank you very much. Next item is,
I just want to thank him
Oh.
too for his efforts on cleanup day, so I appreciate that. So, and your research here, those locations make total sense to start.
so actually, as long as we have you up there, it doesn't relate to this, but now that the snow is melting, I noticed there's a lot of ground Christmas decorations that were buried under the snow when they picked up, so I don't know if who we look to get some of that picked
I think
up.
Public Works kind of handles some of that for those Christmas decorations.
Yep, they were the ones grabbing it.
Yeah, no, after probably this week or this weekend, we're talking 55
Yeah.
degrees on Sunday, I think, something
There's,
like that.
there's
It's
more
probably-
and more of them appearing, and
Yep.
I've got a couple of them in my office that were blown around, so
Yep.
we can
Yeah,
get
normally
those
spring
cleaned up.
cleanups kind of comes in stages as things melt and unthaw,
Yep,
so.
okay, thanks.
Yep.
Next item, the bid transportation group presentation and discussion. There really isn't much. We met yesterday. We had a really productive meeting. We're meeting again on the 16th of March, and what's currently being looked at is a rewrite of the current ordinance. There were a lot of things bantered around of time, parking meters, and the group felt pretty strongly about the existing ordinance and trying to make that workable. Chief Moyler felt pretty positive that he could come up with a solution, so we're going to talk about that on the 16th, and then we'll, hopefully after that meeting, we'll come to the bid and give a actual presentation as to what the recommendation of that committee is. If there's any other questions, that kind of blends right into the next one, which is, I'm assuming, the ordinance that's on the table.
The ordinance that was in your packet that the council asked for your opinion on was the limited time parking restriction, Walnut Street Lot 30-minute customer parking. That's how all of this got started. With the bid, then we've grown that into we should look at this as a whole. It was kind of goofy timing also because this agenda had to get out before the bid transportation group met. So who knew what the results of the bid transportation group were going to be yet? So it can be just all right, we'll continue forward on this path. And
I guess my recommendation would be to table it for now until we get more out of that group after the 16th, in the next meeting.
Motion to table the downtown parking ordinance recommendation.
Second.
A motion and second, any discussion on that?
Are we going to add that to the next meeting's agenda then?
The whole parking hopefully will be on we'll have some update. I don't know what's going to happen after the 16th. Some of it's going to be up to what Chief Moyler and city attorney come up with. He was going to work with him collectively and try to come up with a plan. So we'll put on the agenda, if nothing else, just as an update. And hopefully we'll have something where it's a little more concrete than that. So if there's no other discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Last item is any agenda items for the next meeting, other than parking.
Actually was interested in knowing any updates on our friends with the coffee shop.
That's me. All right, we will
That as well.
absolutely give a great update at the next meeting. The group that you chose for the Downtown Entrepreneur Opportunity has signed a lease in the Baird Building. We're going to meet with them today to talk about fixing it up. And and then we're setting a plan with our new marketing and communications director, Jess Wilds, about really making sure that the world knows that this is happening. I'm pretty sure she's pretty good at her job. She can get it all the way down to Australia and such, right? World knows. But yeah, we're still moving along, and we've got all of those things pushing in a really positive, great direction. This is hit a really neat spot. I don't know if Tony or Peggy, Larry, you guys were working with them a little bit. If
Well, I
you guys
did
have-
volunteer my location or my office to have the next meeting to kind of follow up with those guys to see if there's any other services that grant program was offering, and haven't really heard anything further, but still glad to do that. I did see a nice article in the front page of the West Bend News recently, and I think you were part of that possibly. The new businesses opening downtown. Would have been nice if there would have been a little mention about them and the program. Maybe they can still do that for us when they enter their property and start to set up.
Yep, that we're looking to have this be kind of a standalone item. And,
Excellent.
Really, and then hopefully the city of West Bend and others can follow this step-by-step process with, as we go from signing the lease to everybody's drinking coffee.
We also offered to have a, I don't know if it was quarterly or semi-annual kind of advisory board meeting, so maybe remind those guys that still willing and able to meet with them, preferably after April 15th.
After April. I think what happened too is it was a matter of we got to get this location locked
Right.
down so that we're sure we're in downtown and we're doing all of these things, and not that they were going to be anywhere else, but and then it's okay, now we have our spot, and now we're going to start taking advantage of all of these next everything else that everybody was offering and putting into the opportunity.
Look forward to smelling that roasting real soon.
It's going to be great.
Okay, if there's no other agenda items for the next meeting, I make a motion or entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.